She's an expert on campaign contributions and the media landscape. And today she's going to talk about the far-right donation gap. The rules of the game are as every week, or every 2 weeks actually. We do have 50 minutes for the talk, 10 minutes for Q&A. Julia does not have a co-author in the call today who can monitor the chat, so please just unmute yourself if you have a question and go ahead and ask. Yeah, without further ado, Julia, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation. So I'm going to present this work, The Far-Right Donation Gap, that is joint with Maurice Engel, who just graduated as a PhD student from Sciences Po Paris, and Yuxian Wang, who is a PhD student at the Paris School of Economics. In general, when we talk about charities and when we talk about charitable donation, it's to highlight the growing importance of the philanthropic sector. And to say that just the overall amounts of charitable giving are growing over time, which is true in the UK, in France, in the US, in Germany, in a lot of countries. But the thing is, if you do not look at the amount of total donations, but you rather look at the share of donors over time, what we find is that the share of households declaring a charitable donation is in fact decreasing. This is the case in France, where you see that this share decreased from like above 12% to below 10% during the past 6 years. This is also true in Germany and the US, so the data come from different sources. So each time, in fact, if you look at the baseline can be different. But what is striking is that whatever the baseline you use in different countries, you have this huge declining trend in charitable donations. So for example, in Germany, it decreased from like 28% to below 21% of the households declaring a charitable donation every year. And if you look at the Netherlands, Sweden, or the UK, you see exactly the same trend in the UK. In survey data for self-reported donations, you have 75% of the population in 2014. It's below 65% as of today. And so what we want to do in this paper is in fact to understand this decline, first to highlight this decline in the share of charitable donors, which might raise a number of issues, in particular linked to the increasing size of the philanthropic sector, because it also means that the philanthropic sector is becoming both more and more important and more concentrated. And in particular, we want to study whether or not this decrease in the share of charitable donors is due to a changing political landscape in a number of Western democracies, so US, the UK, Italy, Germany, France, and in particular to the rise of a number of far-right parties. Of course, I'm going to show you a lot of I hope well-identified evidence, but let me just show you this plot very, very quickly, where I just show the same thing as before, like the blue line with the share of household declaring a donation in France on the tax data, and the evolution of the far-right vote share in France for the last legislative elections and presidential elections. And I could have done exactly the same plot for Italy, for example. You see why the share of charitable donors is decreasing, the share of the electoral support of the far-right is increasing over time. So what do we do more specifically in this paper? We are really trying to understand whether or not political ideology influences giving. And in particular, what we want to know is whether the surge, in particular for the support for the far-right, is affecting not only the social acceptability of charitable behaviors, but also the underlying preferences toward donations. So not only the fact that, okay, before you were not giving money, but you thought it was not acceptable to say it, now you can say, I don't care about charitable donations, but perhaps also your preferences toward donation have changed in recent years, and so you just decide to give, to make less donations. How do we answer this question? The first thing that we do is that we provide novel data for France. The first thing that we did is a large pre-registered survey with more than 12,000 surveys individuals that we run in France just a week before the last presidential elections, which is great because we have a very large sample representative of the French voting age population with a lot of detailed information that I am going to present you, as well as information on the political preferences of each of the surveyed individuals. Of course, and we'll come back to that, there are a lot of issues when you want to measure donations with surveyed data. In particular, your data might suffer from a number of reporting bias. And so to deal with this issue, we are going to combine this survey data with novel administrative tax data. So this time we are going to use geographic variation. In fact, use the fact that we have administrative tax data on donation at the local level that we are going to merge with the electoral results at the same local level. And one of the advantage of that, on top of the reporting bias, is that it allows us to have evidence, to have historical evidence, so to look at the past donations and not only at the reporting donations as of today. And the third thing that we are going to look at is data on the donation received by 3 large charitable non-profit organizations, Action contre la faim, SOS Méditerranée, and Oxfam, who provided us with amount of donations and number of donors at the level of the different municipalities. On top of that, I'm going to show you that the main patterns I'm going to document for France are also true using survey data from Germany, as well as novel evidence based on tax data for Italy. Okay. So what are going to be my main findings? The first one is the fact that far-right voters, they tend to give less to charities, which is only true for charitable donations, by the way, not for political donations. The magnitude of the effect is pretty large. As you will see, Le Pen's voters in France are around 6 percentage points less likely to make a charitable donation than those who abstained. And you will see this matter when we will try to understand the mechanism, that this is robust to controlling for income, religion, life satisfaction, state of mind. So this is not an issue of, like, for example, you don't trust overall society or politicians, and you don't trust charities, and so you don't give. You will see that this is robust to using the administrative tax data. So this is really not an issue of, like, okay, change in social acceptability, so change in reporting bias. And this is also true to using the charity level information. Then we will try to understand why. The main thing, you know, we are looking for is that, okay, this might be driven by pessimism or unhappiness or lack of trust, all these factors that have been linked to the vote for far-right parties in the existing literature. You will see that this is not the case at all. The second thing that is really striking is that, and I'm going to show you both cross-sectional evidence and panel evidence, you will see that the effects are mostly driven by the level of the far-right rather than by changes in far-right voting. So it means that, in a sense, we still have the effect, but with a lower magnitude once we control for, like, municipality fixed effect. So we think that there are some unobservable characteristics that are simultaneously associated to far-right voting and to a lower probability to make charitable donations. And so we are going to relate that to Bennenke theory regarding the differences in social norms and the fact of having, like, communal versus universalist moral values. We will test for that. In particular, I'm going to show you a lot of evidence, but one of the things that we show is that, in particular, our effect is much stronger in places with a lot of global charities compared to places with more local charities. So this is more something like against giving to a global charity than, like, to, like, more like local social needs of people. And you will see that the evidence from Italy goes exactly in this direction. In particular, I will give much more detail, but in Italy you have this data that we use that is from the Cinque per Mille, where people, taxpayers, they can allocate 5 per thousand of their income tax to the charity of their choice or to the municipality where they live. And you will see that the negative effect we have on the far right is really on the share of the income tax that is allocated to charities, and not at all on the share of income tax that is allocated to the local municipality where you live. You see exactly the reverse. In fact, far-right voters have a higher tendency to allocate their donations to their own municipality. Okay. So in terms of literature, it's kind of not obvious to do a proper literature review on this topic, in particular on the determinants of charitable donations. I guess it could have been either like 2 hours of class or like 2 minutes of slide. So I did the 2-minute version. But basically, you have a lot of literature, both empirically and theoretically, that try to understand the determinants of charitable donation. What we do here is really we try to document that far-right voters, they face different social norms, and we do that, and I'm going to insist a lot of that, like combining the survey results with the administrative data. In this literature on the determinants of far-right, the determinants of charitable donations, there is not a lot on ideology. The only exception, in fact, are like recent papers that look at donations in the UK. But even this literature that look at the role played by ideology tends to focus on either or both religious identity or the preferences for government redistribution. And here we are rather going to study the opposition to global charities per se. And we'll also see that there is a huge difference between the behavior regarding charitable and political donations. The last thing is that, okay, there is a huge literature that we're going to use, in fact, to test some mechanism that try to investigate the cause of the rise of populist movements in Western democracies. Here, what we do is rather than we consider the consequences of the rise of the far right. In particular, we will try to see whether or not this rise can help rationalize the observed drop in the share of donors in a number of countries, and we see this has important policy implications because this has really important consequences in terms of the concentration of the philanthropic sectors in the year to come. Last but not least, compared to Ben and Co work, we think that our contribution is threefold. The first one is really this methodological contribution, and the fact that we highlight the need to really combine evidence from survey data with administrative data. I'm not claiming that administrative data is better than survey data. You have things that you cannot do with the administrative data. You cannot control for happiness or trust. That you can do with survey data. But administrative data do not suffer from like reporting bias. So the fact of having evidence that is consistent, and you will see effects that are of similar magnitude with both data sourcing is super reassuring. The other advantage of using this survey data is that we can really like study the long-term evolution of charitable donations, which might be useful, you know, to try to understand the phenomena at play. Okay, this is not just like cross-sectional evidence from today. Far-right voters, they give less than other voters. And the last contribution is really the fact of looking at the multi-party system, and that will show us that this is more complicated than just like a left-right divide, a Republican-Democrat divide. In particular, you will see that the results are not at all driven by an overall voting for extreme parties. In particular, we have no effect for the far left. This is really concentrated as an effect for the far right. Okay. So,
Julia, can I interrupt you quickly? I just realized there's a question in the chat from Valeria who, let me just ask the question on her behalf because I think she might not be able to due to background noise. She's wondering about people donating time instead of money. So working for charities, spending time in charitable boards are some of the things she mentions, and that this is a thing that left-wing voters typically do. So can you account for that?
No, so this is, okay, I'm going to show you the data. This is one of the limits of what we have. So in a sense, the new data set we did, the new individual level data we did, at the very beginning when we did it, our goal was not so much to understand the political determinants of charitable and political donations. It was done as a survey experiment where we were trying to, like with a public econ approach, when we were trying to study the extent to which different tax rebate models, for example, tax deduction versus matching, this kind of stuff, can affect the probability to give to charities or to political parties. And then we found this evidence from the survey on far-right voting in France, and we decided to do like the work with administrative tax data and then to look at Italy, etc., etc. So the limit of like the survey question we have is that given that we are not aiming at understanding that, we did not have evidence directly from our individual level survey data on the fact of donating time. What we did though is that we use like other survey, in particular a survey that is called the Ellipse survey for recent years in France, where you have some questions about political preferences of the people, and in some of the survey you also have information on social capital, and we do not see a higher propensity of far-right voters to give more time. So this is not perfect, because in a perfect world, we would have like both questions in the same survey with the same set of controls. We don't have that, but at least from other surveys that we can use from like 2022, so like more or less the same year, we don't find that they give more time than other voters. Okay. So I'm going to go through these three different like data sources, the survey data, the administrative tax data, and the information we got from the specific charities. So what we did is that we ran this survey on donations like a week before the presidential elections. This was part of a monthly panel that was run every month, like from September 2021 to April 2022. Before the French presidential elections. So the main advantage of this dataset is that this is a very large dataset with more than 12,000 surveyed individuals and a lot of baseline information. And what we did is basically that we add a novel module to this existing survey on both charitable and political donations. The questions we asked were the following. We asked people of the following organization: have you made a donation in the past 12 months to non-profit organization, foundation, Téléthon, political party, or campaign? Just the fact that we ask both non-profit organization and foundation is very French. It's just that in French, for non-profit organization, you have two words that are association and fondation. And we wanted to be sure that people won't be confused between the two. So we ask like both questions to be sure that they will check the good box. And we ask for Téléthon because this is the most famous non-profit organization in France. So at least we were sure that people get a sense of what we were asking for. If they say yes, we ask them the total amount of their yearly donations, and then whether or not they report this donation on their tax return. And then we ask questions about like a plan to do future donations with the exact same wording. Okay. I was mentioning before.
Sorry, can I ask very quickly, is religious organizations or churches part of the picture here?
Alors, for France, it might be, even if you look at overall in France, religious organizations are not a very big among non-profit organizations. But still, we wanted to be sure that our results were not driven by that. It's why we also have this data that come directly from the three non-profit organizations that are Oxfam, SOS Méditerranée, and Action contre la faim, that are not at all religious. That's the first thing that is pretty nice. And the second thing that is nice is that with the evidence I'm going to present you for Italy, in Italy, you have two different systems for the funding of non-profit organizations, that is Cinque per Mille, and for the profit of religious organization, that is the Otto per Mille. So in Italy, we also have this clear distinction between the two. Here, we cannot be sure, but at least in the part where I am going to turn to the data from the three given non-profit organizations, I will be able to isolate them from the rest of the picture.
Thank you.
Sorry, Julia, can we also understand if it is for humanitarian causes or non-humanitarian causes, such as medical research, something like that?
So, okay, this is one of the limit of two of the data sets. The limit of the survey data is that we know whether or not they gave either political donations, charitable donations, and the administrative tax data, we know the amount given overall to non-profit organization, but same thing, we don't have information on the organization that benefit from this information. We know that with the three charitable organizations that I'm going to use, in particular, SOS Méditerranée, basically, and Action contre la faim are charities that work in for humanitarian rescue. What we do further, and this won't be like based on the humanitarian, non-humanitarian, but still it's linked. What we do further is really to look at the supply of non-profit at the municipality level. And basically, we will use the keywords in the purpose of the charities to split our sample between local charities and global charities. We could do the same if we wanted to, in fact, with some, like, let's say, humanitarian keywords, which would be another way to approach. But in a sense, a lot of humanitarian non-profit will enter into our global definition of a non-profit organization. Cool. So just on this StatDes, if you look quickly on at the table, number of things I want to highlight. I don't know whether you remember the first slide, but for France, I was showing you that on average 12 to 13% of the people were declaring charitable donation on their tax data. Here you have 33% overall that report to charitable donations. The thing is that they do not all declare their charitable donation, only 63% of them, but still 63% of 43% is still like above 12%. So we have some reporting bias, which might be real bias. And this is where we are interested in also looking at administrative tax data, which might also be linked to the fact that when you ask this kind of questions to people, even if they give like 1 or 2 euros in the street for the Red Cross, they might say yes, and this will never appear in their tax data. So there might be a little bit of both, and this is really where for us it's important not only to look at this survey data, but also to look at the tax data on top of it. I don't know why I lost all the intermediary slides with the titles, but I guess it will be okay. Okay. So then this admin tax data come from the paper I have with Malka Guillot, with an assistant prof at the University of HEC Liège. And so with Malka Guillot, what we did is that we were able to convince the tax administration to give us anonymized data on the number of donors and the total amount of donations, both charitable and political, for each municipality in France. That's pretty nice data. So we don't have 36,000 municipalities. We have data for 33,000 municipalities because we need to have at least 10 donors in the municipality for the data to be available to us for privacy reasons. But basically, we have like more or less the universe of French municipalities, except the very, very small municipalities. And so what we do there is that we're going to combine this data with city-level electoral results and to compare the political preferences as measured by the results at the last presidential elections to the probability to make charitable donations in the municipality. And in this case, so we don't have the control at the individual level like with the survey data, but we have very detailed socio-demographic characteristics from the census data, and we can also control for the local supply of charities. Third thing that we have, as I showed you like just before, 63% of the respondents say that they've declared a donation. And the reason why you don't have to declare your donation, the reason why you do that is that you can benefit from tax deductions, knowing that at the end of the day in France, as of today, only 50% of the population can benefit from these tax deductions because you need to be eligible to the income tax. So you might decide not to report your donation. And this is also why we decided to get access directly to data from the non-profit organization. And we got data from Action contre la faim, SOS Méditerranée, and Oxfam. And each time, for each year, we have detailed information about like the number of the total amount received in each municipality. Okay. Let me just show you this map for 1 second. This is the example of Action contre la faim. The only reason why I wanted to show you this map is just to show that there is a lot of heterogeneity in the territory. And this is this heterogeneity that we can exploit in the probability to give, to get a sense of the relationship between the votes for the different political parties and the probability to make a donation. Okay, so let me turn to the empirical analysis. The first thing that we are going to do is to use the survey data and to show you results at the extensive margin, so the probability of making donations. And then we will turn to the intensive margin, the amount of the donation conditional on donating. Okay. The departure point is this plot. This is very simple, and this is a purely descriptive plot, but this is of interest. So here what we did is that we rank the candidate at the last presidential election from the left to the right. So you have Mélenchon, other left, Macron, and you have 2 radical right candidates, Le Pen and Zemmour. And here you have the probability that you report charitable donations. And what is striking here is that while on average you have 43% of the people who declare a charitable donation, you see that this is much below for both Le Pen and Zemmour, okay? And I'm going to quantify the difference and integrate all the control, but the gap is kind of, the gap is huge. Well, if you do exactly the same thing, but rather than looking at charitable donations, you look at political donations, you see no difference for Le Pen, no statistically difference for Le Pen, and you see on the contrary an higher probability to make a charitable donation for Eric Zemmour. So this does not seem to be driven by the fact you just don't want to give money. If anything, they seem to give more to political parties, while they give much less. To charities. Okay. And so now what we will do is that we will look at that in a proper way by introducing all the controls. And in particular, the first specification we estimate is very simple. On the left-hand side, you have an indicator variable equal to 1 if the respondent reports a charitable donation in the past 12 months. And on the right-hand side, you have a vector of indicator variables for the candidate the respondent intends to vote for in the 2022 presidential elections. All the times for all the different specifications I'm going to show you, either using the survey data or the tax data, we are always going to use at the omitted category abstention. And you will see that from this point of view, the results are particularly striking, because very often you might think that a way, to measure social capital and political involvement is through turning out, and you will see here that the probability to give is lower than that of those who abstain at the election. We control for a lot of individual level controls, but that I'm going to introduce them one by one. So look at this plot. So this is using the 2012 electoral survey. What I want to highlight is that, I'm going to come back to it. You see that Le Pen's voters are around 6 percentage points less likely to make a charitable donation than those who abstain. Look at the different plot curve we have here. The first one is with no control. Then in red, we control for the demographics, for example, the age. And then we control for income. Then we control for religion. We control for life satisfaction, for political trust, social trust. And what is really striking is the stability of the results for Le Pen when you introduce all this kind of control, which is not true, by the way, for the rest of the electorate. For example, if you look at Macron, the fact that they have a higher probability to give decline when you control for the age, because on average, Macron electorate is older than those who abstain, and we know that older people have a higher probability to give to charities. It declines also when you control for income, because on average, Macron electorate has an higher income, and we know that your probability to give increase with income. You also have this huge drop for Pécresse here. So for other parties, in a sense, you see that controls, they play an important role, while the result is increasingly stable for Le Pen's voter. And in particular, what is really striking is the fact that once you control for life satisfaction or trust, it does not affect the magnitude of the effect we have. Okay? You might say that, yeah, but okay, it might be 1 week before the election, but people might say that they will vote for Le Pen, but perhaps they are not far right. So is this really something about the right, far right versus the rest? So rather than
Julia,
looking,
can I ask a question, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
I'm noticing a maybe less significant, but still interesting pattern with the far left as well. I mean, so it's I mean, somewhat of a bell-shaped phenomenon, it seems, right? I mean, Mélenchon is also quite a distance. I don't know whether it's significant, but certainly with no controls, it would be a significant difference from other left or Macron. Seems like people in the center tend to donate more. The two extremes donate less with a stronger effect on the right. Have you looked into that at all, or?
Not really. So this difference, once you add all the control for the far left, it's no longer statistically significant at the 5% level. they have a stronger probability to give here before introducing the control for trust. That's true that the statistical, so they have a lower, but the difference compared to Macron and Pécresse is statistically significant. So basically, they give more than absteneur, but that's true that they give less than right-wing voters, which is not something we have investigated, to be totally honest. Perhaps we should look a little bit more into it. That's true that what was really striking to me was the fact of giving much less than those who abstain here. But we might also be interested into like understanding what is happening on the left of the
No,
discrimination.
I mean, you could argue that ideologically, if you're on the extreme right or on the right in general, you are more against charitable giving to some extent, or at least people should help themselves, right? There's this idea. So I find it striking that people that are very much on the left, who are, even when you control for income and stuff like that, who are ideologically, there should be an idea that we need to help people and so on. Seems maybe the ideology is the state should be helping them. It shouldn't be us in the private sector. But it would be interesting to investigate, because I mean, a lot of people think sometimes that these populisms, the two extremes, are not that different from each other, right? And that seems to be yet another case where this looks a bit like that. I mean, there are maybe different motivations behind it, but the outcome is similar.
I think
Oh,
that
it's not. Look at the self-placement on the right-left scale. Okay, here I don't have the control, but I have the table with the control here. Yeah, the difference between far right and far wing voter is statistically significant. Here, even when you have like all the control, the probability to give to a charity is like 8 percentage points higher for the very to the left compared to those who put themselves on 5 on the scale. And this is 9 percentage point lower for the very to the right. And so if you even want to control for the standard deviation, you see that the difference is statistically significant. So, okay, this is not, they do not behave the same way. But point well taken, that people that are more center left, they give more than people that are far left. Yeah.
Julia, can I ask a more general question? Because here you define or identify right or left by asking who they voted for, but that is a bit of an artifact. And also the changes from country to country, what people mean by right and left. And that's why I asked about this religion question, because in my mind, religion is associated with charitable donation, but it's also associated with the right. So that would go against Francesco's observation. Or in fact, this drop on the right-hand side. So the definition matters, and maybe in the ideal world, one would ask a question in the survey. What is your outlook on charitable donations, and then how this reacts in recent years in light of this switch to far-right parties?
So two things. The first one is I am using who they intended to vote for, and with the administrative tax data, I'm going to use who they voted for the right-left definition. It's not what I do here with when I ask, I use the self-reported placement on left-right scale. So this is really when you ask people in the survey what between 0 and 10, 0 is left, 10 is right, where do you position yourself? After that, in a sense, you will see that all my results, I'm going to give them to you like candidate by candidate, or party by party. And this will be extremely striking, for example, in the case of Italy, because I don't want to fight with Italian people or on where to put Cinque Stelle versus other parties. And I know that this is complicated, but you will see basically, now there's some stuff that is obvious. The obvious thing that we have for France is really Le Pen, that is on the far right. For Germany, the more striking result will really be for the AfD. And I think everyone will agree that AfD is far right. And for Italy, the strongest effect will be for Fratelli d'Italia. And the results are complicated to interpret for Cinque Stelle. But on purpose, I never put the parties together. Even I could have done that. If you look at Chapel Hill, for example, you can put together Lega and Fratelli d'Italia and then say something on right or left. I think it's better to be more transparent, in particular because I did that a little bit. We need to add more things, but at some point we're going to look at the platforms of the parties, and it's always better to just look at the platforms, at the political manifestos, than to have a view ex ante of where they put themselves on a left-right scale. Yeah. Okay. Let me just show you. So this was the evidence with the survey data. And sorry, I lost all my, when I compiled the slide, I have no title in between the section. But this is a transition with the information at the, using the administrative tax data. So here the specification is the following. On the left-hand side, you have the share of households declaring charitable donations on their tax return. So this is at the municipality level. On the right-hand side, you have the share of the electorate obtained by the different candidates in 2012, 2017. And we do the same thing than for the survey data. What we're going to do is to omit abstention. And this time we have a lot of like commune level controls that I'm going to describe and also introduce one after the other. In our first specification, like in the survey data, this is simply a cross-sectional specification. So we control for department fixed effect, like in case you have some geographic specificities, and we just control for elections, election fixed effect. Okay. Now, if we want, given that we have like 2 presidential elections during a period of interest, we can look at the same thing, but using the panel dimension of the data. And so in this case, what we do is that not only we control for election fixed effect, but we also introduce commune municipality fixed effect. And here what we will study is not the relationship between vote for the far right and the probability to donate, but this will be the impact of a change in the vote for the far right on the probability to donate. So in terms of results, this is for 2012, 2017. I'm going to comment this one, but as you see, they are very similar even in terms of scale. What you see in 2017, if you focus here, is that a 1% increase in the vote share for Le Pen is associated with 0.18 to 0.21% increase in the share of donors in the municipality. Again, in the black, you have no controls. Then I introduce demographics, then income and measures of inequality, the share of foreigners, the share of unemployment, education, tax, and you see that overall the effect is pretty stable. Okay, and you are right. If I want to be totally transparent, that's true. That once you introduce the control, Mélenchon voters are doing as those who abstain. While, for example, if you look at Macron voters, they have a higher probability to give even once you introduce a different kind of controls. Okay. In terms of magnitude, let me just comment on that to compare with the survey data. So here, you just see that 1% increase in the vote share for Le Pen lead to a 0.2% increase in the share of donors. So it means that if you move from abstaining to voting Le Pen, you have 20% decrease in the share of donors. In survey data, the share of donors among abstainers was 35%. So 20% decrease, it means that it moved from 35 to 28.3%. So basically, this is a 7 percentage point drop in the share of donors, which is not so far from the 6 percentage point magnitude we have in the survey data. And this is of interest because it really shows that our result that we obtained in the survey data was not driven by a change in the reporting bias. Okay, it's not that as if voters Le Pen for a same level of donations were just simply less likely to declare their donations. Apparently, they also give less than other kind of voters. Okay.
I have a little, so just a quick question again on the nature of what we consider donations. It was the question of time as well, but I don't remember exactly how you define all the questions in the survey, and how do people who give literal charity, right? So you're outside church, you leave church, and then you give to a homeless person, which is like a mandate of many religions, right? Like, do you think they would report that? Do we know if they would report that? Do we know if there's a bias across groups? To the extent that, like, you know, old Catholics in France in rural areas, you would believe they still do that, right?
So they might report in the survey data. And this is why we have like 43% of the people who said, okay, I made the donation. They won't report to the admin tax data, because if you report the donation to the admin tax data, you need to be sure that in case you have tax control, basically you can give a receipt. So basically you will also report donations to association or not profit that can give you back a tax receipt. So for sure, no. But for me, it might explain part of the gap we have between the tax data and the survey data. The fact that, yes, people that give like 5 or 10 euros outside of the church, they might say in the survey data, I gave to a non-profit, while they won't do that in their admin tax data.
I think that's quite convincing when you think about organizations. Like I gave a little bit of money to the Red Cross, as you said, but perhaps you need a bit of validation for like really this thing of directly giving to someone that people may not consider the same. Like it may not be in their heads anymore, you know. It's like you're not giving to an organization, you're engaging in charity, which they don't necessarily put in the same mental box.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Okay. Okay. The main caveat of what I just show you, by the way, both with the survey and the admin tax data, that even if you control for a lot of time varying observable characteristics of the municipalities, of course, like we don't have any like causality here. One thing that you can do, even if it's unclear that this would solve all the causal issues, but you can rely on the panel dimension of the data, at least to capture the unobservable time invariant municipality characteristics. And if you do that, you find that we still have the same relationship. So basically at the radical left, they have the same probability to give than abstainers. It's a little bit above for people at the center right and at the right, and the probability to give for people that are radical right voters is much lower. What is of interest here, and I'm going to come back to that when talking about the mechanism, is that the share, the magnitude of the drop here, it is much lower than what we have cross-sectionally when we simply compare the vote share for the radical right and the propensity to donate. Okay. Let me just show you the results we have with the SOS Méditerranée, ACF, and Oxfam. Just going to show you like one table that summarizes things pretty well. So here it's the intensive margin, no longer the extensive margin. What I put on for comparison on the first column is the tax data, and then you have results for ACF, for Oxfam, for SOS Méditerranée, as before. The main difference is with respect to abstention, and this is with directly with all the controls here for the sake of simplicity. One thing I would like to highlight is that when we look at these 3 global non-profit organizations, because the 3 global non-profit organizations, but the 3 non-profit organizations here are global. In terms of the far left, in fact, they give much more than abstainer, and they give also more than, for example, to SOS Méditerranée than people at the center. So it means that it depends a little bit, of the organization. While for the radical right, whether you consider everything in the tax data, ACF, Oxfam, SOS Méditerranée, you see this drop. So this is in intensive margin. This is not a share here, so this is in euros. So to interpret the coefficient, you have to compare to the average amount given. And you see like big difference in the coefficient here, linked in particular to the fact that average donation to Oxfam are much lower than average donation to ACF. But once you take that into account, the magnitude of the coefficient is pretty similar across these different organizations. Okay. Okay. So the question, I guess, now for the 5 minutes I have, is to try to show you some evidence of the mechanism at play. So let me just first tell you what is not working, but I guess here in this context, it's pretty important to show what is not working. First, what is not working is pessimism. You can do it one way or the other. Either you control for the state of mind I showed you before, it does not affect the results, or you split your sample between people that are optimistic and pessimistic. You have no difference between the two. Same thing with unhappiness. You can control for life satisfaction. You see no effect on the estimated negative far right donation gap. So the question is more the extent to which this might be driven or not by social norms. And okay, I don't have time to enter a lot into it, but we give in the paper a number of examples. And this one, I think it's pretty striking. This is a quote from Le Suicide Français, which is Éric Zemmour, one of the far-right candidates at the 2022 elections in France. And this is a best-selling book. He sold like more than 100,000 copies of this book. And he has an entire chapter in the book against the Restos du Cœur, which is one of the main French non-profit organizations, and against the charity business. And in particular, he has this strong wording against the Restos du Cœur, talking about universalism without borders. And in a sense, if you think at all literature, it makes us think about like the opposition that is made by Henke between universalist moral values and communal moral values. So the idea is to say, okay, it's not that some people don't have any like moral values and others have a lot of moral values. It's just that people have different moral values and they have like deep belief about what is right and what is wrong. Okay. And so what we are going to look at here is to look at the relationship in a sense between this far-right effect and the share of global versus local charities. Oui, Clément?
Yes, one of the mechanisms, I don't know if it's related to this one, but some of these charities that you showed, they actually do things that tend to go really against the policies that far-right voters might want. So if you think SOS Méditerranée, for example, you know, they might have this belief that this is going to encourage more immigration, and whereas the others not so much, maybe like Action contre la faim, etc. is not. So is there anything about sort of political views themselves?
So this is full transparency. This is one of the issues we have with these three charities. So we have data for these three charities. So perhaps not Action contre la faim, but for sure Oxfam and SOS Méditerranée are going to be perceived as left-wing charities, which is not perfect. And if we only had evidence on these three charities, I think we would have no paper. The question is, why do we have only these three? Because they accepted to give us the data. The entire story is that I was negotiating and in pretty good shape to obtain data from a lot more other non-profit organizations, the same kind of like private data. And this is when we published our article with Malka Guillot that look at the effect of the wealth tax reform on the probability to donate in France, whose main conclusion is basically that charitable donations are politically driven in the French context. And let's say that charitable organization did not like a lot the results of this paper, and it stopped the negotiation and the access to the data. So you can have negative side effect of publishing working papers from time to time. So this one, but I am still hoping, and I am still trying hard to be totally honest to have at least data for 2 or 3 right-wing charitable organizations to try to have a more balanced view. But this is not easy. These are like private data for like non-profit, and if they don't want to share them, they do not. Yeah.
Okay,
Ari?
I was wondering if you have thought about whether you can try and shock the partisanship. So, for example, for far right, you could try and interact with far right political violence or terrorism, something along those lines. I don't know what the case is in France, but obviously in the UK, this is quite a hot topic at the minute.
Yes, so that's a very good point. So that is not what I'm going to present you today. But for Italy, I'm going to rely on the new working papers by researchers from Harvard Business Schools and other places that look at that developed a new instrument for far-right voting in Italy, in particular using a reform of their public service transportation. So they just accepted to share the data with us, which is great. So we will see whether for Italy, instrumenting for the far-right vote, we will find something that is causal. For France, for now, we did not find any good instrument, but at least we think that if we have this piece of evidence from Italy, showing that this is not just about like some unobservables we can measure. It is going to help a lot. So I guess I received the data yesterday, so it was a little bit too short, even if I began to play in between. But next time I will be able to show that to you.
All right, thanks.
So let me just conclude with one thing. So the first thing that I want to show is that when we do these global versus local classifications, and we have around 18% global charities, what we do find is that the effect is mainly driven by the interaction between the number of global charities and Le Pen vote share. So this is really where we have more global charities that the Le Pen effect is stronger, okay? And this is, and I'm going to finish on that so that I will be on time and we'll have a little bit more time for the questions. This is something that we find pretty consistent with the evidence, novel data, in fact, we collect from Italy, where if we look at Italy, for example, and you look at Fratelli d'Italia, you see that you have a lower probability to give to a specific charity in places with a pretty high vote share for Fratelli d'Italia. But if we look at the probability not to give to a charity, but to give to the municipality where you do live, you have a higher probability than abstainer for Fratelli d'Italia and also for the Lega. So the phenomena, and this is really what we are trying to understand now with global versus local, you know, and this is also where we aim at a little bit at the beginning with political donations. It's not that you oppose donation per se, but you seem to oppose certain type of like more global charities that are growing in size in recent years. And the thing is, given that you have this stronger opposition and at the same time the growing vote share for the radical right, you might have a tendency in the future to see like even more concentration in this sector of activity. But yeah, I prepared too much material, so let's rather open for questions. And if needed, I will jump to some slides to answer your comments or questions. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Julia. So the floor is open for questions now. So feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. Maybe I can start if like someone's thinking of it. So I thought about the media as a channel as well. So if media is crowding out information about charities, about donations, then how would that be a likely channel to explain the results?
So yes, that's a very good point. One of the things that we are doing now is that, so basically, okay, I didn't have a lot of time about that, but one of the things that we show in the paper is that our results are not so much about people who are not voting for Le Pen in 2017, for example, and that start voting for Le Pen in 2022. They are mainly driven by people who already voted for Le Pen in 2017 and who voted again for Le Pen in 2022, as if they were an intensification of the preferences against charitable donations. And the thing that we are documenting now, there are two things. First, we show in the manifestos that the far-right parties, they tend to give more weight now to their opposition to this non-profit organization. And we are in the process of documenting the evidence where now it's kind of striking, the fact that there is more and more visibility in the media given to this opposition. So this is not as if there were a change in the preferences of the politicians, but these preferences become more visible to the electorate, in a sense. And that is going to change the relationship between the electorate and the donations.
Perfect. Sounds good. Anyone else?
I have a quick one. Maybe going back a bit on my earlier point with the fact that these charities are all maybe considered more left-wing, or at least their goals are more left-wing, and whether it might just be a question of there being no supply of right-wing charities. So maybe there are some charitable goals that these voters would agree with, but no one really taking care of that, and that, or not enough charities taking care of that, and that's why they don't donate. And I was wondering if maybe there's any way to exploit some sort of goals that they might care about. Like I remember reading something about the Christians in the Middle East and how the far right, is happy to have them as refugees, but not the others, and whether using that as a shock in over time. I mean, I don't know if your data would be fine-grained enough to use this kind of shocks to certain Christian community in the Middle East being targeted, and whether that triggers any donations at all.
So that's a very good point. There are not a lot of radical right charities. There are some, but not a lot. But there are some more right-wing charities for sure, for which I would like to have the data, which is kind of not easy. Again, the choice of Oxfam, SOS Méditerranée, and Action contre la faim is entirely driven by the fact that they say yes and the others they say no. What we wanted to do at the beginning was to use language learning model on the purpose of the charities to classify them between left and right. It turns out that the purpose of the charity is so short that I cannot buy the quality of the classification that we do. Even like we know that on news article it's not easy to do, but just on like one or two sentences purpose, it's very, very complicated. So I guess the good way for us to solve that will be like to have data for one or two right-wing charities, and we are still working on trying to get that. But for sure, this issue of supply, we see that with global versus local charities, but for left versus right. But just all my results are not driven by these three left-wing charities, that's for sure, because like at the beginning this is survey data, then this is admin tax data with all the charities into them. But when we look at left-wing, we see the same kind of effect with a similar magnitude. And the question is, if we had like 2 or 3 right-wing charities, would we see the same thing? And that I cannot tell you because I don't have the data.
I don't wish to labor the point on right-wing charities, but are you able to get, or would you be able to get in the future data on military charities? I don't know the equivalent in France, but in the UK, there is Help for Heroes, which is often weaponized by the far right, Nigel Farage, these kind of characters. So I don't know if there's a French equivalent.
That's a good point, because so I won't be able to tell you from scratch, but I guess for that we can look for keywords easily, because we will have veterans or this kind of stuff.
Yep.
So we can identify them easily by yeah, but no, let me. The thing is that okay, even if I find them, basically, either I have geographical variation, and then I am going to be okay, and I will be able to answer your questions without their data. Okay, if I have, I know that they have this association in such and such, or I will need to obtain their own data, because the limit of the survey and tax data is that I don't know how much different associations are receiving in terms of donation. But at least I can look for the supply of these associations at the local level by identifying them and just see, first of all, whether there is a correlation between their supply and far right vote. That's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
Anyone else? Maybe I can throw in a question that I was thinking. So imagine if we can do a survey again, and if we ask people, if there is a global NGO which can restrict refugees at the European Union border, for example, would you give money to support that NGO? And I don't see why not far right voters would give more money to this NGO.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point, but then the question is really about the supply of NGOs. I'm not saying that they do not exist. I can give you the name of one, for example, that put a lot of money and effort to put people at the border between Italy and France, and to be sure that people die in the mountain, in the cold, because they don't want them to cross. But this is one NGO in France that, by the way, is not raising like small donations, because they're funded by like a couple of very rich people, and that's enough for them. So the question is, perhaps this is what we will see in the future. perhaps one chance we will see. But I will say that the tendency we have today might also be driven by the lack, between quote, of non-profits that will that will satisfy, let's say, the political preferences of. One of the things I didn't show you, but we have in the paper that is pretty nice, is that in fact we show that for a number of, for the far right voters, you have more compared to other voters, substitutability between charitable donations and political donations, as if it were more efficient for them, between quote, for efficient, to directly fund the political parties than to fund the charity. So perhaps absent this supply of good non-profit organizations, they just decide to give directly to their party. So now it's kind of like like one paragraph in the paper, but I might insist a little bit on that more, because this goes in your direction.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Second.